Okay, I think we're live. Welcome everybody to our 40 Days of Christmas reading. And we have some fun friends here that you may have not seen for a while. So welcome Contes family. We get to see everybody. Look at that. Do you want to introduce your newest one?
This is Marina Chloe Contes. She was born September 11th at 12:01 p.m., 8 pounds, 4 ounces of perfection. So very excited.
Welcome.
And Lenny, Basil, and
Lenny, Basil, Castian. Everyone at the church should know them.
Well, yeah, and maybe some people do, and maybe some people don't. So why don't you?
Yeah, it's been almost 2 years.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your connection to St. John's and where you are now?
So we used to go to St. John's in Portland, but then about 2 years ago, we moved back to Phoenix, which is where all of our family is. So moved back and are enjoying being around all of our family and growing our own family. And we're excited to be able to reconnect with everybody.
That's great. Thanks for coming on. And I'm so excited to see everybody. It's great.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We've been talking about favorite Christmas traditions, and I know you were thinking about it a few minutes ago. So what are some things that your family likes to do?
Well, one of the things we do is for Christmas almost every year, we either get one big present for the whole family, and we like to do traditions. So sometimes we get little frames, and inside the frames, there's a little piece of paper, and on the paper, it says a really fun place we can go to, like the aquarium or like something like Disneyland. Mm-hmm. And we would go there. So, yeah.
We're a big experience family. So we'll balance gifts with and also experiences with us. So it's exciting. That's fun for us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think those are some of my favorite gifts too. That special time with each other.
Yes, well, very much so.
You brought a book for us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you brought and why, and then go ahead and when you're ready, you can start reading.
Sure. So it's called The Miracle of St. Nicholas, and it's written, it takes place in Russia, which is actually my heritage. So that's exciting to be able to share that with everybody. And they have some really beautiful pictures with the Russian cupolas with the triple bar cross on the top of them, which is obviously very, very special to Russian heritage and St. Petersburg and how the churches all look in Russia. And actually, this book was given to us by Cassian's godparents, Athanasia and Nikopoulos. So they got it for us last year. So it's a fun little connection. They also went to St. John's.
Great, thanks.
Should I start reading, Shannon?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool, here we go. Okay. It was the day before Christmas in a small Russian village of Zima. Alexei's babushka was telling Alexei what Christmas was like when she was a little girl. Our church was as crowded as a pod full of peas. Pine branches filled the church with the scent of the forest. Candles made the church as bright as the sunniest day. Watching over us was the blessed icon of St. Nicholas. What is an icon? Alexei asked, a question that always sat on the tip of Alexei's tongue like a little bird ready to fly. An icon is a painting of a holy person. It is a painting into which the artist has put all his whole soul. Our icon of St. Nicholas was 500 years old. It was more precious than our lives. Babushka, Alexei asked, why is our church closed? When I was a child, the very age you are now, the babushka said, soldiers came into our village. They did not like churches. They did not want people to believe in God. They warned the villagers, if we find you in your church, we will arrest you and send you far away. No sooner had the soldiers closed the doors of St. Nicholas, everything inside the church suddenly disappeared. It was a great mystery.
That was long ago, Babushka said. Now the soldiers who closed their church are gone. Alexei asked, why can't we celebrate Christmas tomorrow in St. Nicholas? The church had been empty for 60 years, the babushka said. You cannot celebrate Christmas in a church with an empty altar, with no cross, no candles, no bread, no wine, no icons of St. Nicholas, and no priest. Birds have made their nests in there, and it is dancing with mice. It would take a miracle to open our church. Babushka, what's a miracle? Alexei asked. A miracle happens, his babushka said, when God enters in your dream. But first, you must have a dream. That afternoon, Alexei rubbed the frost from the windows of St. Nicholas and peered inside. The church was empty. The floor was soft with dust. The walls were netted with cobwebs. He tried the door of the church. It was unlocked. If a door were unlocked, Alexei was a boy to walk through it. The startled mice scampered out of the church as Alexei stood inside the deserted church. He said to himself, I wish we could celebrate Christmas here. And when Alexei set his mind or heart on something, he moved as quickly as the mice. He wrapped a bundle of twigs with some twine and swept the dust from the floor. He brushed the cobwebs from the walls and he cleaned away the birds' nests. Alexei tramped through the snow to the pine forest, and at the edge of the village, the wind tried to snatch away his cap. The snow sneaked into holes in his boots. Reaching up into the trees, Alexei broke off some fragrant branches. Returning to the church, he laid the branches around the altar.
Zima was a village where you were as likely to be in your neighbor's house as your own word of what Alexei was doing soon spread through the village. The villagers hurried to see for themselves. The farmer, the carpenter, the storekeeper, the teacher, and the shoemaker arrived with their families. Alexei's mother and father came with Alexei's babushka and his little sister Natasha. Natasha brought her stuffed bear who would not be left behind. One after another, the whole village took turns peeking into the church. One after another, they returned to their homes with a big smile and a little secret. Only the shoemaker stayed behind. He was a quiet old man with gentle ways. His clothes were worn and patched. His gray beard was tangled. His shoulders were stooped from hunching over his work. His hands were stained from the tanning leather. The shoemaker asked Alexei, why have you swept out the church and laid the pine branches about so we can celebrate Christmas in the church tomorrow? Alexis answered, many times I have meant your boots, and Alexei, when I saw all the holes you had worn in them, I said to myself, there is a boy who will always be one step ahead of us. The shoemaker went away with a little smile and a big secret.
For their dinner on Christmas Eve, Alexei's family had jam to put into their tea. There was a dish of cooked dried fruits, 12 fruits in all, one for each of the apostles. Alexei's mother had prepared kutia, a thick porridge made of crushed hazelnuts and almonds cooked with barley and honey. It had bubbled to itself on the stove all afternoon. You can tell when it's done, Alexei's mother said, when it does not talk anymore. Alexei's father scattered straw on the floor to remind them that Jesus was born in a stable. He put a bit of hay under the tablecloth to remind them Jesus laid in a manger. Outside, the wind sent the snow tumbling and swirling. It sought out the cracks in Alexei's house. It sent bits of surprised snow through the cracks. Still, Alexei and his family were happy, for their porridge warmed their insides and the stove warmed their outsides. After dinner, there were gifts. Alexei received new boots. They would protect his feet from the snow that had nothing better to do than fall day after day. Natasha was given a sweater to shield her from the cold winds that rushed down from the North Pole. As she did every Christmas Eve, Babushka gave Alexei and Natasha a gingerbread man baked with her precious store of molasses. It was time to go to bed. Alexei's mother told him, You must lie down like a stone and rise up like new bread. In bed that night, Alexei could not stop thinking of the empty church. He watched the moon turn the snow blue and the icicles golden. He climbed out from under his quilt.
Okay. Alexei put on his new boots and went out into the winter night. He tramped through the snow until he reached the church of St. Nicholas. If a miracle was going to happen, Alexei wanted it to be there. He was surprised to find the farmer and his family inside the church. The farmer was placing 2 silver candlesticks upon the altar. His wife had a handful of candles. As the flames kindled on the altar, the dark hurried away. Where did the candles and the candlesticks come from? Alexei asked. The farmer explained, the day the church was closed, my father concealed the candlesticks in a stock of grain. Every summer when we gathered the honey, his wife said, I made candles from the beeswax for just such a day as this one. The teacher entered the church. She opened a lumpy bundle. Inside the bundle was a cloth woven with many hues, as though bright birds had flown back and forth, leaving behind their colors. The teacher spread the cloth over the altar. Where did so beautiful a cloth come from? Alexei asked. The teacher said, when the church was closed, my mother hid the cloths among our quilts. There was a carpenter and his family. The carpenter was holding a cross. My dedushka rescued the cross from the church the day St. Nicholas was closed. The carpenter said, all these years it has lain hidden under the floor of my workshop. The storekeeper and his wife arrived carrying a bottle of wine and a basket of bread. For many years I have saved this wine, the storekeeper told Alexei. The wife of the storekeeper said, I have baked loaves of the holy Christmas bread and marked them with the sign of the cross. Just then, Alexei's mother and father, along with his babushka and Natasha, entered the church. Natasha was yawning, for it was very early in the morning. The babushka looked stern and happy all at once. She was carrying something wrapped up in her best shawl. The villagers crowded around her. Gently, she unfolded the scarf. There was the painting of St. Nicholas. At last, the icon was in the church where it had been for many years, as anyone could recall. The eyes of the saint seemed to be looking right at Alexei.
Alexei said, now we have the candles and the altar cloth, the cross, the bread and wine, and the icon of St. Nicholas, but we don't have a priest. We must wait, his babushka said. Everyone sat quietly in the church. Natasha was asleep with her head on babushka's shoulder. The church doors opened. A priest walked down the aisle. He was dressed in a robe of white and gold like the sun breaking through the morning clouds. In his hand, he held the holy scriptures. It's the shoemaker, Alexei cried. But he was the shoemaker no longer. His scraggly beard was neatly combed. He did not stoop, but stood as straight as a pine tree. His ragged and patched clothes had been changed for the robe of a priest. The babushka whispered to Alexei many years ago it was dangerous to be a priest. Priests were often put into prison. So he hid the priest in our village. He became our shoemaker. But now we have our priest back again. Everyone lit a candle. The church was as bright as a summer's day. Watching over the church in a place of honor was the blessed icon of St. Nicholas, and the Christmas service was just as Alexei's babushka remembered it. The end.
Hey, thank you. That was so great. I love how you each took a turn to read it. Kind of like in the story, how each person kind of brought something too. That's great.
Christmas clapping.
Do you have any favorite part of that story?
Cassie, what was your favorite part of the story?
When at the end, instead of his like worn up clothes, he had a priest robe, and he lived in a church.
Mhm. Yeah, that really surprised me. I as the story went on, hearing the different people that had hid things, I was like, where are they going to get the priest?
Yep.
Yeah, I think my favorite part was how Alexi, this never would have happened if Alexi didn't clean out the church and get everything set up. And his family was very kind and helped him and got candles and icons, and the shoemaker had a disguise to be a shoemaker because he could get arrested. And I think it's really cool that everyone put in an effort to help this happen.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part?
I like the part of the beginning where he kept asking his babushka questions, like to help understand what things meant.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for reading. And for everybody, we have a couple more days of reading, so you can tune in at 11 our time, Pacific time, and hear a few more stories to end out the year.
All right. Thank you guys. We miss
Thank
you
you.
all.